So I just, yeah, be aware of your surroundings and know, I mean, at a county board meeting, some of the supervisors went, well, what are you gonna do? That's what's going on. I mean, that wasn't the too difficult one to figure out how they were gonna do it. Be aware of your surroundings and don't put yourself in a position to be trouble. So I have.
Amy, if that's muted, is the sound being recorded? If you're recording on the computer, that's muted.
Oh, no, it's not muted. That's me who's muted.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
showing me.
Okay, perfect.
Any other comments on safety sharing? Hearing none, we'll go to the chairman's report. I'll say that I did talk to the county exec after the meeting and asked them about, because I've had like half a dozen emails on cuts to the library. And he says the county is not making any cuts to the library system. So if you get any inquiries, apparently things changed since Ethan sent out the letter saying that we were cutting it. He says, no, we're not cutting it, that the village of Winnebago is cutting it by 17%. They asked us to make that up and we're not gonna make that up. But other than that, it will be status quo. So that's all I have. Next, we'd have the UW Division of Extension Program Education Reports and Updates, food-wise with Christy.
That's me. I know that Chris Soper has given some presentations recently on her education in food-wise, and I'm just going to give an overall summary of you can share our 2021 year-end reports. We started a few years ago putting together county reports because, as you all know, we're lumped into our 4-county area for food-wise as well. And this specifically just summarizes, thank you, some of the education that Chris has been doing in our program or in our counties. So last year, 2021, when we started, we really, or as we were preparing for the year, we weren't sure what was going to come of in-person and virtual education. So we did do and plan some education in the virtual setting, but we really did get quite a bit of in-person education done as well. But we found that our delivery of virtual education isn't going to go away now that we're transitioning further away, hopefully, from the pandemic. That especially in the winter months, there was a really nice opportunity to allow us to collaborate with our families virtually who had access to internet. But you know, if our target audience is parents with young children, so families in WIC and Head Start who have toddlers and babies, and in the winter it's not always fun to haul your babies out in the snow and the cold and it's dark out at 4:30 at night. So we actually found that some of our families really enjoyed having a virtual lesson instead of having to go outside. And then we just collected their information and we mailed their incentives afterwards. So we set up a series last year, really not knowing what our year was going to be. We did a once a month lesson called Keep Calm and Cook On. And it was really unique because we were able to invite families from all 4 of our counties as well. So sometimes participation is a little low in our lessons, but this allowed us to really broaden the reach of our families that we were serving. And we had quite a few families who came back month after month. So that was really nice to see. But we did a lesson that was geared more towards the parents, but oftentimes the kids were present. And we also had a book that we read during, or we had a video of the book being read. So that was fun. Or we also shared, over the last year, we've created video recipe demonstrations over video. So then we've been able to show those during some of our virtual lessons. And then we did some kind of a recipe demonstration via Zoom. So we were able to actually show a small recipe demonstration, something very simple and easy, you know, that didn't require a lot of back and forth to a kitchen or stove or something. But then the families, we would mail them whatever incentive correlated with the lesson that we taught. So things like a strainer, like a colander, cutting boards, reusable grocery bags. We've got calendars with recipes on them, so some nice incentives for them participating as well. And then we're also, that was an opportunity for us to continue building relationships with our families when we couldn't see them in person. So we know that when we can get in person and really build trusting relationships with our families, they're more likely to come back and attend other lessons and other events that we're hosting. But obviously the pandemic made that very difficult. So this was one opportunity for us, as WIC wasn't meeting in person still. They are only coming in person for particular appointment. So it was really just an opportunity for us to still make face-to-face via virtual, but connections with some of our families. And it's very, it's intrusive when we're, opening our homes to our colleagues or our, as our families, allowing us to kind of enter their home virtually. So I feel like that really was a unique opportunity for us to build relationships with our families as we were able to kind of see into their homes. And some of them would kind of be like, well, look at this tool that I have at home. Can you tell me what should I do with this? Or
Do you ever see one that you don't know?
what's that?
Do you ever see, do they ever show
Something
you
that
one
we
you
don't know? Not really. It was cute for the kids to kind of, at one time we were talking about plates that maybe had the different sections for kids to pick, like, okay, we're gonna pick out a fruit, a vegetable, and a grain today, and put them in the little slots. And one of the kids wanted to get out and show us like a plate that his grandma had given him. So that,
That's
just
cool.
kind of unique opportunities like that. So we're certainly not doing away with virtual education. We know that there's a place for it. Summer months, we had decided to not move forward with the virtual education this summer, but then pick it up again maybe in January after the holidays, because school starts and it's busy, and then it's Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and before you know it, it's January. So it seems like the January, February, March, April months kind of get long, and yet we're still looking at snow and cold. So we thought that would be a good time in this upcoming year to try that series of virtual education again. Chris also did a really great job reaching back out to her teachers. So she got into some schools last year. Over the pandemic, it was hard to remain in our schools just because we had so much going on, and there was, a lot of uncertainty. So we did have some schools say, you know what, let's just wait until next year. But other schools did say, yep, let's give it a go. She has done a really nice job developing a relationship with the farm market manager. And I know that she shared a little bit about the farm market tours that she delivered, and she was really proud last year. Last summer was the first year that she did that, and she did a great job collecting registration and participants and had people sign up. And now this is currently the second year that she's delivering farm market tours and has a good relationship with the market to give all of the participants a $10 gift card for participating, which is really unique. Not all of our counties offer that incentive. And she has had a relationship with Boys and Girls Club that's been going on. So last year she did deliver that education, but something really unique that I recognized over the last 2 years is that we did have some sites where we just had to sunset, or not sunset because it's happening again now, but over the pandemic, we just had to not enter because of the policies at the particular sites. And so we really just allowed for the partners to come back to us and let us know when they're ready. And so we did have 2 partners reach out. One said, okay, we're ready for you to come back. We miss Chris. And then another one actually was a staff member from Boys and Girls Club who left Boys and Girls Club and went over to Big Brothers Big Sisters. And Foodwise has never partnered with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so they reached out and said, and I work here now, and I would love to try and create some type of a partnership with Foodwise. So really speaking to, the relationship that Chris had with this partner at Boys and Girls Club, and wanting some kind of nutrition education. So she developed a lesson plan or some series of lessons with the littles of Big Brothers Big Sisters and then their big brother Big Sister. So it was a cooking class where they got to work together, the little and the big together. So that was really unique, and we're writing that into our plan for the upcoming year as well. And then we do also have Hannah is our Healthy Communities Coordinator, and she's been working in this county last year kind of as a result of the pandemic, and also A lot of the coalitions had taken a break during the pandemic in the area. And so she's slowly formed a network, which is kind of summarized on the back. And they're currently working on collecting some information on families who are living in poverty and hoping to develop some kind of impact or not an impact, a plan to do something with the information that they collect. So I hope to have her, and Chris has been joining that small committee as well. So hope to have them here at some point to share a little bit more about what they've learned and what they hope to do with the information. So we've also got some new collaborations with the Oshkosh Area Community Pantry. They've had a lot of staff overturn, and we are now have met with their new staff, and Chris is back there doing some really fun things. Often we hear from our pantries that they have too much of something or something that isn't as appealing to their clients as other food items. And so help us get rid of the dried beans or help us get rid of the noodles that we have. So the pantry is giving Chris the ingredients, and then she's coming up with a recipe. And then they have a small kitchen in the back, so she puts the recipe together, and then she has samples out for any of the pantry guests that are coming that day. And then she also at the same time will be promoting, let's say, her farmers market tour that she has coming up. So it's a really good opportunity for her to get back out into the community and build relationships with the participants and or guests at the pantry or wherever she may be. But then also recruit for a longer series where we can hopefully make some kind of behavioral impact, help impact on them in a longer lesson. So
Are we still doing stuff with the Friendship List?
yes, we are. Yep, that was actually the site that reached out to Chris and said, hey, we're ready for you to come back. Yep, we have a newer curriculum that we've started using that during the pandemic was a nice opportunity to take the training, because those trainings are time intensive as well sometimes. And so we were able to be trained virtually by the folks in California who put the curriculum together.
And then now are we like the county's open the one in the old Carter building? Are we doing anything there?
Not at the moment, or say that again?
The county opened like, it's kind of like a Friendship Place. in
Yeah,
the
State
Carter
Street,
building.
State Street,
Yeah,
yep,
I don't know what the name of it is now.
State Street
It
Center,
was the old Carter where
yep.
they sold
Thanks to
Oshkosh by Oshkosh.
Mandy, actually, she caught wind and set up a meeting, and Todd and I just had a meeting there earlier this week. Yeah, so we're gonna have, Extension's gonna have a place once a month. And then we're gonna rotate. So Foodwise will have 1 month. It's gonna be on a quarterly basis as of right now. So Foodwise will have a spot, Todd will have a spot, and then hopefully there'll be one more spot, Mandy will have a spot. So then we will share the day, and Foodwise will do some kind of nutrition education, and then it'll be financial. But then we also shared during our meeting that we could do a longer series if needed, but at this point, we would like to just go in and kind of build relationships with the individuals who are coming in, become a familiar face, and then kind of gauge interest on what they would like to learn or what their needs are. And everyone's going to be different, of course, but yeah, the woman that we spoke to there was really sweet, and she said that I know they haven't been open long, but that the individuals who have been coming they actually were all out to lunch together at is it maybe Salvation Army that had a lunch, like a meal that day. So she's like, it's really nice that everyone's kind of like building relationships, and they were had gone to lunch together. So I'm hoping that that's a nice opportunity for us to start a new partnership.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to tour it after the personal finance meeting this month.
Very nice.
It seemed a lot like the Friendship Place to me.
Mhm, I agree. In fact, we had said during the meeting that the lessons that Chris teaches there, most likely she would just, instead of coming up with a new lesson that month, she would just teach the same lesson.
So I'm from the north part of Winnebago County, and from the information I've gleaned over the last 3 months, there's a great deal of opportunity in Oshkosh. I don't see so much of it in the Nina Menasha area, and so 2 things. We've got a Boys and Girls Club in Menasha, and is there anything happening there? And the second one is the Nina Menasha Emergency Society has said that their clientele has gone from 1,000 last year to 2,000 in need of back to school supplies. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that throughout the county. And I know that in my community, it's not easy to see the need, but it's there. And I would like to find out if there's any way that this can expand up to that area. And if it's there.
So,
Friendship Place actually is in view. It's on Commercial Street.
Oh, do you know it's on Doty Island, in fact? Yeah, Friendship Place, that's for the alcoholics and,
No, that's
No.
for,
Folks with
living
Mental- mental health or disability.
is it across from the dialysis center?
It's near the hospital.
It's,
Yeah, so
like
it's
they
across
are-
from the dialysis center.
it's just a little ways from the YMCA.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's right in that, on Doty Island.
I don't think it's on Commercial
It's,
Street.
it's on,
It's
right
on
on
Commercial
commercial.
Street. Commercial Street goes all the way through Doty Island over into Menasha.
Yeah, this is before the Menasha Court. It's on the corner.
Sure,
but
sure,
don't
I
think-
know. Yeah, that's going across the bridge from Nina
You don't quite cross it.
onto,
You go across the bridge.
Not yet. It's before.
well, the bridge isn't open.
Well, even before that, you're not, yeah, you're.
That's the wrong
I'm in
bridge.
downtown Nina. I'm in downtown Nina. I have passed Alta Resources on my left-hand side, gone across that straight bridge where there's a little canal, that's Doty Island.
Okay.
And so this is across from the dialysis center, which is kitty corner, and when I say that, it's 3 blocks away on Doty Island. So the hospital is on Doty Island. So you're going over the bridge, not on Commercial Street. I'm now talking about Oak Street. You go over the bridge there, you're on Doty Island. On Commercial Street is where all of these are, on Doty
But
Island.
Doty is still north, so we're trying to establish, is there something north, and there is,
Yes,
correct?
exactly.
We do go to Friendship Place once a month. That's a site.
Karen, I'm sorry I took up so much time.
I'm just not sure we're discussing Doty, but anyway, we know where the Friendship Place is, and we
Yeah.
know that it's in north, in Nina Menasha, and we are going there.
We are, and the Boys and Girls Club that Chris goes to is the Menasha Boys and Girls Club. Yep, so we actually currently in Oshkosh, the Boys and Girls Club, we have our collaboration with the, one of the sites, for a parent lesson. But isn't any youth education happening right now there. So the Menasha Boys and Girls Club, Chris has a series going on right now. So
Okay.
Summer
Okay.
lessons, and then she also does a series after school, during the school year.
And I
then
just, please, everybody understand, I'm new to this. And so I don't have all of your information.
Yeah, so I
And
think
that's
we would
why I'm
recommend on
asking these
Foodwise
questions.
a little more information on Foodwise. We are federally funded by Food Share. So that we are the educational component of the supplemental nutrition
I
education
think that's
program.
outstanding.
And so it does, that provides us with our target audience then. So our target audience is anyone who is eligible for Food Share. So really anyone living in poverty, but doesn't have to be participating in Food Share, but generally our audience is individuals who are at WIC or participating in WIC, at Head Start.
Title I
Elementary.
schools,
Yep, food pantries, and really any school. So the way that we decide which schools we can go into, it's built by building, not by district. So any building where at least 50% of the students are participating in or eligible for the free and reduced lunch program. So we recognize that that doesn't mean that the schools who aren't at that 50% level don't have families in need.
Yeah.
But that is our federal guidelines are stating that we will be only going into the schools that at least 50% or more are. And then, so there are,
Can I assume the schools have to give permission for that, or can they ever turn you down?
yeah, I mean, we have partnerships with the schools and teachers. And so sometimes the teacher will just say, you know what, we've got a packed year, and we are experiencing right now with our schools that especially in the older grades, kids are behind from the
Yeah.
pandemic. And so these poor teachers are trying to cram a lot more into their year or work a little bit harder than they already are. So we actually are deciding, and we were in 2nd and 5th grade. And now we're gonna take a step down and we're gonna do kindergarten and 2nd grade.
Okay.
Because, first of all, we're trying to make that impact earlier. And so it just makes sense. And then also, in kindergarten and 2nd grade, maybe the kindergartners aren't quite making up anything yet because they hadn't been in school 2 or 3 years ago when the pandemic first started. So we're gonna give the 5th grade teachers a little bit of a break. And we were already recognizing that trend before the pandemic, just the gap that the 5th grade teachers had was a little less because there's so much to teach in 5th grade, not that there isn't in kindergarten also, but it seems like a little better fit, so right back to your comment about like the Neenah Menasha area, and I know that like in Neenah, there are less schools, a few less sites that meet our qualifications. However, we also recognize that does not mean that the need is not there. We
Yeah.
just have to work a little bit harder to create our collaborations or our partnerships. But that is also why some of our education that we're offering, such as like the virtual, we don't need a site necessarily. We can teach our virtual education anywhere and our families can join from anywhere as long as they have the technology. And I understand that doesn't, cover everyone also. However, then a family can just have the need. They don't need to be participating or attending a school that 50% of the students are. So
Again, our elementary school, forgive me, on Doty Island is a Title I school.
So we also are at Taft Elementary.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
there are a couple of Title I schools in the Neenah district.
Yeah, so there are a handful of sites that we are in. It's not, and I recognize in some counties when the office is held in the city, that city kind of gets all of our attention.
And that's, again, one of my questions, is the city doing it or is?
No, I mean, that was just an example. I mean, we have that sometimes in other counties too,
Okay.
but I think we're doing the best job we can with the resources that we have to expand to not just Oshkosh, even though maybe Oshkosh could use all of our time if we allowed. We know the need is elsewhere. So our jobs are very unique in the fact that in our 4 counties, it's Calumet, Outagamie, Wapaka, and Winnebago. We have a nutrition educator in Winnebago, Chris Soper. We have an educator in Outagamie, is Miranda Dawson, and then we have an educator in Wapaka, but we do not have an educator in Calumet County. So our 3 educators are being divided out into 4 counties. And then we have a healthy communities coordinator, Hannah, who covers all 4 counties with the policy change work and the systems, and her work is revolving around creating healthy environments, so less direct education and more of the bigger picture work. And again, so one person for all 4 counties, and I am the coordinator for this project or for this Foodwise team, and my office is in Wapaka, but I rotate around to all 4 counties. So, we do the best we can with the resources that we have, but I think overall, the summary that I wanted to provide was that our educators have been, just like everyone else, faced with a really challenging last few years. And I am giving them all so much credit, especially Chris, for just getting back out into the community, because our job is really in the community. And so over the last 2 years of having to, sit behind a screen essentially, and I'm speaking to, in 2021, it was, at the end of 21, we had been doing it for 2 years, basically. To get back out in the community and build relationships so that we can, have families participate in our programs again. And I would really say that they've done a great job.
And you also, you're with the 4-H, and 4-H is all over Winnebago County, and you're in the brochure, the Menasha Boys and Girls Club, so you're in Menasha, you're in the elementary schools. If it seems like Oshkosh gets more attention, we make up a third of the population. So if we don't get basically
A third.
well, we're getting slighted. I mean, because we basically make up a third of the population. So if we got equal time, you would basically be getting 3 times what we'd be getting. We like to share our services equally.
Yeah,
You know,
and that's fair.
yeah, that's all we're looking
Yeah.
at. And I hear all the time, well, Oshkosh gets this, Oshkosh gets that. Well, we got out of that $10 million that Ethan got us, we got a 3 sites that nobody wanted. I can guarantee you, you wouldn't want the homeless shelter in your back door. And it's in District 13, the district I represent. If you only knew how many emails I got that didn't want them tiny houses across from the dog kennel, you know, and the day-by-day warming shelter, you know, it's down by the Leach Amphitheater. If you only knew how many calls I got that they said that's not the right place for that, you know, that's an entertainment district. We don't want a day-by-day warming shelter. So everything that Oshkosh gets ain't great. I would like to put some of it up by you.
And it's just, again, it's the newness to
Yeah,
the board that I wonder how much the city takes care of this. And I don't know that. And I see, and obviously, what I just heard yesterday, that the city of Neenah got $5 million in addition to their annual budget from the ARPA fund. And you go, wow.
every township, city, village got money from ARPA funds. It was all published. But like, we got 33 million the most. City of Oshkosh got 21 million. But everybody did get money from ARPA funds, from
Yeah.
the village of Winnebago to the city of Armorough. They all have ARPA funds to do work in their community. And I think you guys do an excellent job. I mean, I've heard nothing but good stuff about the Friendship Place, that, you know, they go in there, do a little cooking class, and they try to help those people so they can basically cook on their own and lead as normal life as possible.
Well, I am so thrilled to know that this is going on. Again, I have a daughter-in-law who is a special needs teacher. She taught in New Orleans, and she said Emerald Lagasse would come in and teach cooking classes with those kids going
Chris is
from
better
age
than
5 to.
You know, I made her pudding last week, last month.
I made her put it.
I did, it was good.
She would have to do the band.
So it's.
She would if we'd asked.
Yeah, she
It's
would.
wonderful to know that this is happening. That's all I'm saying. And helping kids to understand measurements and how you cook is huge.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the questions too.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
definitely want to make sure that everyone fully understands our program and appreciates the work that we do.
Well, just real quickly, one point before Tom's question that I work with Christy on. And this is, Kate, part of for your learning, the FoodWise program is administered on the federal fiscal year. So that's why the top says fiscal year 21. So it begins, so the team is actually getting close to kicking off the fiscal year, which matches the federal fiscal year of October 1 through September 30. So that's where that is. So in extension, we get to work with 3 different fiscal years in many
Oh,
cases.
fun.
Yeah, the federal, the state, and the county, which the county is actually a calendar year, but it's also its own fiscal year. So so it's fun. Sometimes you have to remember those things. So that's one piece. The other piece is that for the rest of the committee, this would also be the time where Christy would also share with you the annual agreement. So while all of the staff and the services that she's talking about, like salary and expenses are paid for by the grant at no expense to the county, there is an annual agreement about just saying, hey, can we have a person here use the internet, print a couple copies, use a pen, or, use some basic office supplies when we need to. And we're in the middle of a transition where that same agreement will be brought into the annual contracted services agreement. So we'll talk, so it includes all of extensions, space, and people, and all of those things, and that will be coming in. I've got to get the budget done first, and then reviewed by the executive. And once the executive releases the budget, then I'll have the numbers to put into the contract. So just an FYI of a little bit of a change. And I know that this group doesn't, so Steve doesn't sign that contract. The executive is the signature authority, but we've always shared that as a communication piece. We will continue to do it, but it'll be part of the annual agreement. So just an FYI, in case you're like, hey, wasn't there something else we always looked at? it's kind of nice to have one thing, including everything, to get one signature, one review by court counsel, all of the things, that way. So trying to be efficient with time. So, sorry, Tom.
Do you remember what you were gonna
I
say?
don't remember.
I'll say one thing while you're thinking, and then you'll remember.
No.
Just as an
Oh, all right, go
FYI,
ahead.
at the bottom of this, on the front page,
I see
facilitated
that.
a series of nutrition lessons at Menasha Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you, Karen. I saw that.
Okay.
I appreciate, I did
you
not
remember your-
read down there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Chris, even though I look at you, I'm probably talking to him, is that I think now for a couple of years, I've been talking about accountability and how you know what's going on. And you said there are infrastructures in place to do that. It'd be really been neat to see how this program was doing before COVID, during COVID, and now after COVID. And I think you're really right that virtual is here to stay. The problem is education, and you're looking at one of the poorest cases of education, because I can't even turn a computer on decent. But to get the people to participate in it. And this isn't just for this program, it's for everything, an extension, the justification of it is gonna come eventually. I can see it coming. That, well, how are you doing? I think, Mandy, you've got a lot of stuff that you keep, that you can say how many people are participating.
Christy probably has better records than I do, but we both do have those records.
Well,
Yeah.
and,
We track every human we interact
see,
with.
and to me, that is good, because I'm planning, and now you've got a chance that, God bless you.
Thank you.
You know,
We do.
but now Calumet County doesn't have one, but they're still getting its services.
Mhm.
And then how much in Calumet could that be done virtually? And virtual just saves travel time.
Yeah.
So important. And yet, if you get a decent base to work off of, where they can hear you and you can hear them, so important, because you can get garbage out there, and we've seen it in the county board where you go to a virtual meeting, you can't really tell what's going on.
Yeah.
So I just bring that out. To me,
Yeah.
if I was in charge of it, something would be happening, and there would be something, and not making it so labor intense that you're filling out forms all the time.
The state does that for us.
Yeah.
It's very
So-
labor intensive.
So there are, so yes, and I know, Christy and the FoodWise team, they probably have, probably the best and the most documentation, partially because it's not only needed for state reporting, but also for, at the federal level, and through what we do. There is, and I recognize that, yes, and a lot of the decisions are made like program by program or project by project, some cases, as far as how the balance are, and using some different metrics. Also having to be nimble on what those sources are and how you look at them, because there may be times in which you are looking for quantity, and you want to try and increase the total number of people reached. And then in other cases, you may be measuring for depth of impact. And that may be, even if you only reach 3 people, but yet create a behavior change, that might be more part of the objectives of that project. So it varies, and that's why there's not a one size fits all. And like you said, the justification. And so then when we do have the opportunity for conversations and justification, it is a, pull together, because in most cases, we don't do data sheets, we tell stories. And we have to go with what the story is that's based on the data, and not just a page of numbers. And I know that's complex, and I know that's what we do, and that's what we do pretty good. So,
Well, but
I hear you. I totally agree.
And then when the justification is, if somebody says you have to cut, well, now what am I gonna cut?
Yeah.
And you gotta have information to know where you could do that and where you can't, or you bring that information to somebody that helps you make the decision on what you're gonna do. And again, I think everything that's happened is good, but you mentioned so many times our families, and you referenced numbers, but you didn't give any. And not that I need numbers, but I like to know that you know the numbers, you are in charge of it, and it's going the way you want to. I am satisfied.
Yeah, we have a data collecting system called Pairs, and it is, created for food share programming. And our statewide program, Foodwise, can work with the Pairs team to kind of dictate what information we collect. And so that's changing kind of on an annual basis based on what information that the federal dollars that we get, the overseers would like to see us collecting. And that is changing a little bit, but I can print out, like Chris said, we're close actually to the end of our fiscal year 21. So after that's over, all of our data is due into the pair system by like October 5th. And then by November 1st, I could have a nice printout of the program gives us infographics of our data. And so like Chris said, we really do measure every single person, their demographic information, the age of the individuals. So, you know, we can see we reached X amount of 4K or youth K through 12 or adults 65 and older or 18 to 60 or whatever, you know. And then where are the gaps? Who aren't we reaching? You know, look at our target audience and are we reaching our target audience? Parents versus non-parents. So there's a lot of information that we collect. And we do collect the qualitative, but we also collect the quantitative as well.
To me, makes sense.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at data, I would guess the pandemic, there should be a dump in some, but then virtual should be picking
Yeah.
up. And again, it's whatever you need to do your work.
Yep.
And do I just need to know you're
We're
doing
keeping
that.
track of
And
it.
there's something that is lost in society is I trust you.
Well, I appreciate that. And we do also, so our 4 counties get, you know, and money is different each year, but we have been getting around $380,000 or so for our 4 counties, and that's salaries and supplies and, you know, everything. And so we certainly have been seeing decreases in travel or like, so our team, we meet twice a month. One time is virtual and one time is in person, because I really feel like there's a need for both. We can't build relationships, and I feel like I've used that word over and over today, but you lose touch of one another if you're only meeting virtually. But there's also not a need. We're all over the place. We're all over our 4 counties. And so we don't need to meet in person 2 times a month. That's crazy. So there is a great need for both, and that goes for us as colleagues, but also it goes for our participants as well. You know, if we only were meeting with our participants over the computer, we would never create any kind of an impact. But like I said, we're going to use our resources wisely, and in the winter when nobody wants to leave the house, and you know, that seems to maybe make sense. So I think what we're hopefully going to see is using our resources as wisely as we can where it makes sense. So
See, and as you get older, it's gonna change. And pretty soon you're gonna be dealing with these new people that don't want to meet face to face. At my job, I had to get easements from people. I had to talk to them. I had people that didn't want to talk to me. They said, text me, give me it, I'll just sign it. I don't care what it is, just sign it, send it back. They didn't want to talk to me. And that's where you're exactly right. Everything's changing. It is a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger and going faster. And how do we stay ahead of that? And all we can do is use the information you have and try to look at it and know what you're getting and making decisions off of that. And they may be wrong, but at least you're trying. That's the biggest thing. I hate this. There's a story coming here. And all right, I'm gonna tell it real quick. It's Christmas and they're getting ready to go to great grandma's house and making a roast. Well, they get ready to put the roast in the pan. And the mother cuts the end of the roast off, and then they put it in the pan. Little Jenny comes in and says, why do you do that, Mom? She says, no, I don't know, but grandma always did that. We'll ask her, we gotta pick her up on the way to see great grandma. So they pick her up and they said, the older will ask her, why did you do that? And she says, well, I don't know, great, we'll see her in a couple minutes. So they get in there to go there, and they asked her why she cut the end of the roast off. And you know what the answer was? Didn't have the pan big enough to put it in. But for 3 generations, they've been cutting out. Now, there is there's need for it and a want that it has to be looked at, but you have to look at it and then you have to look at all the changes that are taking place. And that's what makes it so difficult at your job. How do you stay ahead of it? How do you stay ahead of it?
And if I can give Chris one more compliment today, she's been in her role for 20 years. And so she's seen a significant amount of changes. And you don't always have to roll with the punches. You don't always have to adapt. But if you want to be good at your job and you want to stay relevant and keep a job, you have to learn change. And so although change comes difficult, she has taken a really, she's done a very good job of taking the opportunities that she's been given and kind of running with it. So I'm very complimentary of her over the last year. We've seen a lot of drive to do better. And I think that, you know, you have to have that to be impactful. So
I'm done with stories.
thank you.
Any other questions for Christie?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Then we'll move on to human development and relationship with Mandy.
I think because you were
Oh,
you're part of the amendment.
You were thrown into the last minute.
Of course I was, that's how my.
Or because we just think of you as that bright, colorful
Yeah,
person there.
all that, but, I don't have a fancy handout, Christy, I always hate reporting with Christy, because she creates great reports. Just a couple of quick highlights of some of the last month. So you knew, or hopefully, you know, I talked to you a little bit about, I had some vacation news of, so I took quite a bit of time off in June, and it was quite lovely. Our daughter is getting married in October, so we have a really busy year ahead of us. Yeah, very exciting. So a couple of quick things, new partnership with the State Street Center. They are so excited to have us there. I saw them in a newspaper article, so I called them and said, hey, what can we do for you? And we could move there. They're so excited. And so thanks to Christy and Todd for having that meeting on just this last Monday to provide them some services. New pilot project that I've been running with a colleague from La Crosse County. It's a compassion resilience program for professionals and leaders and how to infuse more compassionate practices into their workplace. We know that we spend more time in our life in the workplace than we do at home. So the strategy in our community is really to reimagine work as a place that builds your mental health versus harms it. So this pilot, we have 87 people registered, and we're in week 8 or week 7. The last one will be tomorrow morning. We are offering that digitally, and you know, to your point, Tom, we really think about what are our intended outcomes and how can we, busy professionals are leaning towards Zoom. And so looking at having those done digitally, we have participants from across the state in that pilot project. So it's been going so well that it will be embedded into the health and well-being programming of Extension. So you'll see some evaluation and impacts on that after we get it finished. It's been a fun project. In more exciting news, the ACE interface project, which I've talked a little bit about, it's a 3-hour workshop for people to understand the impact of brain development on childhood trauma, is one of those signature programs that I've been partnering with the Saint A program in Milwaukee. They own the curriculum and have trained me to teach it for free. So it's been a really great partnership. That partnership has been going on for about 5 years because of the success of the teaching that I've done and the impacts and the number of Wisconsin residents I've taught, and built some capacity around in our community. St. A approached me and asked if Extension would take this project on, giving us the curriculum. And so we ran it all the way up the ladder for the last year, working with Extension leadership, and also more exciting, honestly, I'm such a trauma nerd. Tomorrow I'm having a meeting with Dr. Robbie Enda, who created the ACE interface and CDC screen from the Center for Disease Control. So he's the like guy who brought this to the world. So I have a meeting with him tomorrow to sign that contract over to Extension, which is a huge win for us. They've waived all licensing fees, and Extension will have a direct line to the primary researcher on childhood trauma. So And Winnebago County, of course, because my name is on it, is getting that credit for this relationship. So really exciting. Grandparents group. So we are back.
I was
as-
wondering about
Oh,
that.
yeah, our group is strong and steady and all filled with trauma, right? Poor Steve, I still think of you all the time. Thanksgiving's coming up. So our group, that's one of those groups that we held them together. We did not lose anybody during the pandemic, but we literally, because of Sandy, Sandy has been a complete gift to this project because she is tenacious and brave and will like do anything to keep connected. So we leveraged a partnership with both Feeding America and St. Joe's Food Program in Menasha, and they give our families
Bad person.
boxes, food boxes that Sandy would drop on their porch just to have that continual contact with them while we were, stuck at home. We did lose 2 grandparents, one to age and one to cancer over the pandemic. So, we're in that hits her because Sandy is more, like I always say to Sandy can't be so attached. She's like, me. So she's very attached. They are also very attached to her, which works out really nice because I and Amy are the bad guys all the time, and we're good at that. Like, and when I can't be the bad guy, I send it to Amy because she's really good at like, these are the rules. Amy has said that to me about 18 years, 1,000 times in my career. So we are meeting in person. We did not have the money to do some summer events. So the Wisconsin Adoption and Permanency Support Program wrote us out a check and they said, go have some fun with them. So we were able to do, what did we do? We went bowling. We went to a movie. We were able to rent out a private theater to keep them safe and distanced. As much as they chose, but we weren't in a theater with the big crowd. So we watched a movie with them. We went bowling. Last night we had pizza in the park I can't remember the name. And then we are hopefully going to the zoo, the new zoo in Green Bay in August, and that's all funded by the Wisconsin Permanency Program. We have the rest of our fall calendar planned, so we are not going to bring them back into the building yet because we don't know how to hire childcare safely. So when we bring them back into the building and run the support group, we hire childcare providers, and there's just no regulation yet on how to hire childcare providers and what do we do with COVID protocols with kids and things like that. So we are seeing them. We will have, September is another pizza in the park, which they super dig. And then October, we do our drive-through trunk or treat, which I said to Sandy, can we just put ourselves out of our misery? Because the last 2 years we've had like ice storms or snowstorms. It snowed in 2020 on Halloween. And then we'll do a drive-through Thanksgiving and then probably a drive-through Christmas. The Christmas might come in person, we're just playing it by ear. And then next year we will see what we can do with that. So two more things. One, the Diversity Affairs Commission, which Kay is part of, has spent the pebble in my shoe in the last couple of months. The work is fantastic and so important, and I think everyone agrees on that. We've taken a logistical hit on the resolution about meeting time and 100% of agreement. So we, up until that happened, had met every single month without fail and reached quorum. And we have not met yet since June. So there is a meeting on the calendar.
The room is booked.
Yes.
Right here. I have received confirmation.
Yes.
We
So
will have a quorum
yeah,
in person.
that's what the world is saying. So
Well
I'll
said,
believe
Mandy.
it when so a couple of sad news things, particularly one is the resignation of the chair. Latiria Garrett resigned last week or this week. I don't even know. It was late last week. For a variety of reasons, which she shared, and mostly just that feeling of being disconnected as a non-county elected official and the chair. She wasn't, I don't want to speak for her, but the communication was, she just didn't feel like she was able to do the job she set forth. She is a powerful voice. She is brilliant, and it is a loss to this commission for her to go. But public health was super smart and they scooped her up. So she's doing a lot of really great work for them on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So our loss is public health's gain, and I love public health. So Lateria's voice will still be in this community, which is just so powerful. She's brilliant. She also did not receive any sort of acknowledgement after her resignation. So I love this commission to consider sending her a note. Because she has done great work. She got us where we are. We were, up until last week, we were fully vetted. We had all 7 members. Now we're back down to 5. So it's the ups and downs, but we will.
And she was the only chairperson of any committee in this county who was not receiving pay for her work. That was never approved, and I'm sort of outraged.
I
by
did
that.
bring that up to you last week or last month, or whenever I was here last, I think it was last month, and Steve did say that was on your docket.
Mary Ann Miller's drafting up a resolution to add the Diversity Affairs Commission and our commission to the citizens so that they get paid. It will go to jurisdiction next month,
Judiciary, yeah.
and it'll come to us.
You know, I did share it was not a great optic to have a Black female citizen chair being a person treated inequitably. But we also, right, like, is a new commission, we're gonna work it through. The work matters. So I appreciate your continued support in this work
And when
matters.
is the next meeting?
August 4th, next
August 4th,
Thursday
okay.
evening, right after, well, there will be an hour delay. So we have a 3 to 4:30 educational a session with SOAR, talking about folks with differing abilities and how we can appropriately engage and labels, and how to advocate when you see somebody parked inappropriately and be safe, and invisible disabilities, right? So we talk about, like, don't call people names. It's none of your concern, right? Like, let the police deal with it if you need to, or look for a public safety officer. We're really, I think the overarching diversity affairs vision is to create a little bit more of kindness in this community, and beyond just tolerance, but moving towards acceptance, right? So tolerating is like, well, I guess, but accepting is like, you matter and you belong here. The data around folks who are marginalized, which means they're not part of the majority, is really troubling around dying by suicide. We are losing folks. We had a lot of overdose deaths in the last short period of time. A lot of that can be tied back to a lack of belonging and support. So our work matters. We are still trying to negotiate Kay knows how to appropriately and safely record these educational sessions. I have offered that we will work with the speakers to pre-record a session. That will be the session that will go out. I talked to you guys about that last time, so that those speakers have a minute, right? And they can make sure their message is the one they want, because I am a public speaker. Sometimes you say things and then in this like conversational moment, and then what happens is someone takes that tiny snippet, puts it out, and your career is over. So I can't find reputable speakers, and I feel really uncomfortable asking my colleagues that are public speakers to say, sure, let's put you in this controversial topic in a safe forum, and then someone records, or we have this recording we promote, someone takes one thing out of context, and it happened, right? You saw that, it has happened. So I have offered to the commission that neutral middle ground. There is some people that don't agree with it. I don't know where it's gonna land. It's not my decision. The commission will need to decide, and then we will respond. So that's.
And it's not on the calendar yet, just FYI.
Well, no, because we just, like, midnight 2 days ago, landed on a 10 p.m. or something, landed on a time and date. So it will be there and posted appropriately.
Okay.
It has gone to Sue to be on the calendar. The agenda is in the process, and it will be on to Sue by tomorrow, so that Sue can put it up on the calendar on Monday
We'll do
and mail it out. So the only and I'm not gonna say conflict, that's not the right word. The only concern I have, and I believe it's going to be easily resolved, is how we do our Zoom as well. And that is in the process of getting sorted through. Because we're meeting at 5:30 in the evening, this building is closed down. I'm here that morning and I will pick up a key so that we can get into the building.
Yeah.
So
we
it's
do.
having the IT equipment available and functional here. That's where the issue is. The rest of it seems to be falling into place.
Yeah, so,
And I'm excited about it because I'm up to here with,
Politics. is the word.
I'm up to here with politics and not having a direction.
And so besides the chair, who else dropped out to put you back down to 5?
so Rob is a teacher in the Oshkosh School District who took a new job. He was really, like, the meeting time we had set with him, with the previous commission really worked well for him. He was able to come during his lunch hour. And now with these meetings being, we don't know where they're gonna be, he just,
Okay.
and he took a new job.
Yeah.
He too, again, I think the bigger picture, right? Like there's us and there's sort of this like, oh gosh, I wish we heard his voice because again, he's amazing and brilliant and thoughtful. He is being tapped within the school district to do the work there. So we will still hear his voice. They're not being silenced. They're just going other places. So we will need 2 more commissioners and we'll see what happens. So so first, before anything else, do you have any questions about programming or partners or what do you got?
Well,
I have every number. I have all the numbers. Yeah, so any
No,
questions?
It's just politics, and that's so bad. There's no trust anymore, that's all
Yeah.
politics.
We don't, I mean, I'm gonna speak for me. I don't feel that in this room. I always feel like our commission supports and trusts us, so.
I was just gonna ask a question about the grandparents. With the 2 grandparents that you lost, I assume they were 2 different households.
Yes.
And how did that impact the children involved in that family group? Are they-
Well, terribly. So one was probably I would say a primary caregiver. So they're a sibling group. Primary caregiver of the grandparents passed away. One of the children had to be rehomed, which is a terrible term.
reunified?
They were not reunified. Most of the children will not be reunified
Oh.
into their
Or
parenting
rehomed to
environment.
someplace, some other family?
Another foster. She was moved to a foster.
Oh, foster, okay.
But her sibling was able to stay. It's the laws in child protective are very complex.
So now the siblings are separated.
They are separated.
Oh.
Then the other loss was the secondary caregiver,
Right.
I would say, and so we're just working through grief. One of the this is this is the way we do things here. So because we had some extra money from the Wisconsin Child Permanency Program, we were able to order Sesame Street, ironically, sent me a really great child grief kit that has DVDs and books, and they're kind of expensive. How much were they, Amy? $30?
Like $30 a piece, probably.
So I had Amy order a set for each family because these children are all in grief. They've lost their parents. We lost 3 parents to overdose deaths since I've been here. And I'm talking about grandparents, right? Because language, biological parents, we've lost to overdose deaths 3. And then none of the children, no, 4 of the total children, there might be some engagement with biological parents, but the rest of them will never go back to parents are in prison or they've died, or they're gone. Like we don't even know where they are. So things like that. So that program is one that we have them on Zoom. And it would be like, I can see your eye. I can't hear you. We had Sandy like driving on porches, showing people how to use iPads. So that was in the thick of that pandemic. And so our primary goal, and I had talked to Chris, is like, we got to get them back together somehow. But we didn't lose anybody. And I think a lot of it was because Sandy dropping it on those porches with food and basic needs. And they know we love them and they love us too, as well. So, yeah, any other?
I have a question to help with some clarification
Yeah.
for me. This is to the supervisors. In your June 21st meeting, there was a resolution to amend section 22, specifically 22.11. Was that, so in this county, we don't get draft minutes, we don't see anything, if they're not in the packet. So did that motion pass? And
It
and
is
if there
still
were,
in question.
okay, so it was
I
held.
spoke with Mary Ann on Tuesday evening about this in relation to the diversity committee.
Right,
And what she said is, Kay, Brian Stafford is all kinds of upset because he did not want that verbiage taken out.
okay,
So was that done at the committee level? She said, I have got to go about
Okay.
making sure about what's happening here as far as that goes, and I will let you
okay.
know.
So one of the things, and I'm speaking for myself and for Mandy, there is a huge disconnect about a lag time between action that is taken or not taken at the county board before anybody who actually needs to implement it knows anything about what's going on. So that's just in general, that's just a very frustrating piece because, I mean, I appreciate it and I sincerely wanted to know is if it's still up in the
Yes.
air because
Yeah,
the amendment specifically addresses the educational meetings versus committee, boards and commission meetings, and they're two separate pieces, which would have a direct impact to diversity affairs. But
Absolutely,
okay.
and I am working towards resolving, or at least getting an answer for the diversity committee related to that. But I have
Okay.
found the same problem you have, because I wonder if the minutes have to come out, which have to be approved by the board at the following meeting before they get out to anywhere else.
Yeah.
And
And I found it very frustrating
And
too.
just an FYI, in both of the other counties
Yeah.
I work with, they have draft minutes that are made available within probably 2 weeks or less.
So that we can at least
So that at
track.
least to see what the draft is, they're not approved minutes, but they're pieces. And this is also just in general, and I know that there are some hiccups related to the recording piece. This county has the slowest lag time in making the video recordings available. I realize that that could be a substitute to the meetings, to watch the meeting, but the lag time is much more significantly longer than any other committee. So you have the people who are well-intentioned that want to implement the policies, but we have no clue what the actual policy is that was changed or made. And it ends up making Mandy and I kind of look like knuckleheads wandering around because we're like, we don't know, or you know more, and you assume we know, and we're like, we don't know, and you're like, well, why not? It's like, because there is a very strong lag, or and I'm not going to say it occurred before there was an election, before Executive Daniel took his role. It occurred before the April elections and the new rules. This has been a county-wide, this has been the modus operandi is very slow when it comes to making information public, which I'll let you as supervisors try to determine the best ways to go forward. But
Well, and I think the reason why it feels, because a couple of things are in play here for August 4th. I did not contract that free speaker to be recorded because we weren't told to. I literally do not know if I have to. And if I have to, I need to talk to her. As it stands right now, I do not. There will be someone on that call that will challenge that and direct me to record it, but I didn't treat the speaker with the proper respect of asking her for a recorded presentation. In the moment, she might say, sure, I can do that, but that's not part of our agreement with her. And so we asked her to do one thing, which Beth and I were directed by the board, the commission, to find speakers to run educational conversations. That's what we filled our calendar with. Now it's a very different ask of a recorded presentation. So that's sort of like why I've asked Mary Ann, I've asked the commission, I've asked Chris, I've asked everyone and their brother, like, what is the rule that will be in place on August 4th? Because I'm not going to record it unless I'm required to.
Don't record it.
You've heard it here.
That, that is, if that is how it has been set up,
Yes, it has been. set up.
and because of the question mark,
Mhm.
I would say don't record it.
Yeah, I
And
believe
I
that's the
think-
standing rule
Just
right
a
now.
minute, though, this meeting's being recorded.
Yes.
Oh, that is true. This
So,
one is.
I mean, is there something we can do here, Chair, like saying, can we have our executive listen to the meeting and get back to us with an answer?
Well, there's a difference. So this is not a meeting of the commission. The meetings will be recorded, that we understand. That's perfectly clear in the resolution.
But that's
This
what I'm
is an
saying.
educational event.
Yeah.
It's different.
But that's how come we need answers, we're
We need
not
answers.
getting them, and it doesn't pay for us to do it, this is being recorded. Can we ask Donald to listen to the meeting and then get back to us with an answer? Is that,
I think if Mary Ann Miller can't give you an answer, the
Mary.
county exec isn't gonna be able to give you an answer, because she is the county corporate counsel.
well, our training is though, we go through Donald gets what he needs, he should be going to her, is what I am, but that's,
And I
we gotta
have been
watch
to
out.
her. I talked with her on Tuesday about that very thing. Mandy, is this something that is coming from the extension specifically? Or is it coming from the diversity commission?
Yeah,
And
so we're
if it
nuanced
is-
in that, yes.
And I would say use that nuance.
Yeah, we will work through it. We've got some time, with the speaker. I can speak to her as well. So just wanting to be like perfectly transparent on all the ups and downs of the diversity affairs commission. Again, the work matters. It's very important. Any other questions
Well,
about programming?
Mandy, I want to say that again, being new to all of this, I had no clue what you do. And I don't read things well, but I read this and I saw your name everywhere.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, my Lord, have mercy.
I say that too.
So do I.
Yeah.
She's not in that political DIE thing here.
Right.
And because of that, because of hearing things over here that are not real over here, my perspective is changing.
Mhm.
And it's huge to have that information. Again, I think that there are any number of us on this commission now who don't even have a sense of what we're doing.
Mhm.
The one event that I went to, and I was there only for a short period because my grandchildren were coming in, was the alphabet soup. And you sit there and you go, is that what this is all about? And in having explored that more and having all of the email trails that are going on with us, that's not the case.
Yes,
And
I am.
I
am
hugely
well-
appreciate
Thank you.
that.
I am well aware of the questions about what I contribute to extension or don't. I've heard them. I've wrestled with that. Yeah, so
Well,
Thank
and
you for
I
that.
thank you very much for
Thank you.
reaching out and saying, Kay, thanks for getting this done.
yeah.
Because y'all have no clue about how disorganized this has been.
It's
And
really
it's so frustrating.
It is hard. And I've always felt completely supported by this commission. And so that leads me to the hard part of today. I am resigning my position here. I'm emotional. I wasn't expecting to be emotional. And it is complicated and I've loved this work. And I'm very excited that I will be the area director for Area 8. So I will try to be Chris for northern counties in Shawano, Oconto, Marinette, and Menominee Nation. It's a great privilege. It's a great opportunity for me to go and do my work in a different area. I know this is a public record meeting, but there's one person working in HR. So we've fully executed the offer and the negotiation. I just need to hit click on the contract. So we're asking that you don't go out and say a goodbye billboard for me, but I would love that. No, I'm kidding. Until we can notify Area 8, they don't know that it's me.
Very exciting.
I'm very excited. It is, our staff will find out right after you. So Amy knew. Christy sort of knew. Yeah, but Todd helped her find. It is with like utmost, but I asked Catherine Nicewender if I could tell you in person. I didn't feel right sending you an email. My last day in the office will be August 9th. I will assume
Can you give us a year?
I don't think you want me for another, my first day there.
Area A won't give her a year.
August 15th, I will assume my duties there, but it has been one of the best 7 years. I've been here for 7 years of my life, and I love Extension and I love the work. And I was very honest in my interview. The reason why I pursued this position in part was because I have had a fantastic educational career here with a bazillion opportunities, and I feel like I've made an impact, and I want to go somewhere where I can support other professionals in doing the same. So you are in excellent hands with my colleagues. You'll barely miss me other than 10 p.m. emails about scheduling. So we will, the work, it'll continue in different ways. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate just a little bit of quiet discussion until we can get that contract. I've been checking my email. We're waiting for it. But it kind of came as the last minute. I asked Catherine if I could tell you in person, and then right after this, we'll notify. So our office does not know yet either.
I think that you kind of exaggerate when you say it won't be missed.
Yes.
Greatly.
You will be
What you
missed.
did for this county is tremendous. I mean, I went to the one grandparents' Thanksgiving. I could never go to another one. It's the saddest Thanksgiving dinner I've ever been to.
That traumatized me. I was like, oh.
One lady's dying of cancer, and she doesn't
yeah.
know where her grandkids are gonna go. Their parents are all basically in prison. And another one, the dad was a drug addict, never seen the kid for 12 years, and he's trying to take the kid back now because he got out of prison. Another one, the kid was turning 18, they didn't know where he was gonna get care. It's like, my God, this is Thanksgiving dinner, and it's the saddest they have had this whole year, and she deals with that every day.
Well, that's very funny.
It's like.
It still is one of my favorite stories.
You can fill those shoes, and
You can't.
you have to deal with that. You have to be a strong person. When there's suicides in the high schools, she goes out and gives counseling to these kids to try to get them to understand, she's not gonna be an easy person to replace.
No.
And this extension will be at a great loss for a long time.
And Mandy, I want to say, how long have I had the opportunity of knowing you? 2 months? You
I don't know.
you have touched my life. Thank you.
This is gonna be a lot easier. I should have sent you all an email. I actually had been doing really well. Of course, my family knows, but like even my mom does not know because I've been trying to. They knew I interviewed. My mom was like, I don't know why they haven't told you. She was all mad. And I was like, it'll be okay, Mom. So I appreciate your love and support. You will be in good hands. We are working really hard to make sure programming stays, and it will all be okay. And I've just completely loved my time here. I am not running away from something that I don't love. It has been a tender week since I've known, because it's been a lot of like fake goodbyes, to people. So so thank you.
At the diversity meeting that we had, can I bring this up?
If I have a contract, you'll know.
Perfect.
Yes, so we have been literally waiting.
Better
But I have a contract. Like we literally, like I've had to get some special permissions because my background check is done, which I find very funny. I'm like, well, if I fail that, you should probably just fire me away. But that's just university policy.
You would have already been. I mean, you're one from 2 years ago.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so-
But, and then after that you get, so the negotiation is done, the date start is done. And there's this final like email contract that you hit accept, and that's what I've been waiting for. We've all now been waiting for. But poor Chris had to like hide in the closet from Amy because we're trying to get the budget. My work impacts our budget. So Chris is like, man, you've gotta like figure this out. So we've been like asking Catherine for some special permissions, but you know, we have Todd here and it will be different. I'm not going to sell you a bag of rocks. I never have before. There will be change. But you will all be okay. I'm gonna go rattle some chains in the north for a while. Chris can laugh. Yeah, so it's a perfect opportunity for my skills in that area.
Well, we'll truly miss you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mindy?
Oh, yes, one more question, and that is, if we are going to, as a county, go about asking for the diversity committee, asking people to do programs for us, is there a stipend? And that was something that I had brought up in the past about, again, if people are going to spend their time doing this.
Yeah, we've leveraged relationships. So there's this really great network of professionals that, you know, they'll come in and do a presentation for us for free. And then I've done some training for them for free. So we haven't had to use that. Is it $2,000? $2,500. There's a little pot of money in the chairman's budget. I would recommend if you ask them to do a separate recording that you would offer a stipend for that payment, because you're asking them for more than double the time. Because, you know, when you're doing a recorded presentation, it takes more time, you know, so I would recommend if that money is available, you won't have the capacity that I trade, you know, that's not a thing anymore, because really what I've been doing is trading, you know, like I'll do something for them and then they'll do something for me, and we use that a lot because nobody has any money, so, you know, we just share resources.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Mandy's up, basically lined all the speakers up. So when Mandy's gone, then
Yeah.
it'll be
We've
up to
got November and December.
October as well.
Oh, October, November. I have to believe that December isn't gonna have anything because of that month being crammed up. to
We
the eyeballs,
usually
but-
do because it's in the beginning, but we can talk about it.
Okay,
You know, I'm leaving August 9th, gonna take some time off with like 3 whole days, with my family, and just sort of reset.
like get a wedding prepared.
Yeah, that's coming too. And then, you know, so I'm not disappearing. The great thing about extension is that Catherine is well aware that there will be some transitional time. I'm not, you know, running away and never answering the phone again. So it's not, I have zero intention, and I've told Chris and, I've told Chris for sure this, I'm not gonna leave anybody to hang, you know, for sure. That's not gonna be, Sandy will need some support. We'll figure that out with her, you know, with the grandparents group. So but there will be transition time for sure, not a year. There'll be some transition.
And just so Kay and Rachel know that $2,500, if you don't use any of that by the end of the year, that just gets basically turned back. So but there's no brochures printed yet. We were waiting to print brochures. So, and then in the budget, it won't automatically renew. If somebody doesn't put it back in the 2023 budget, there'll be no money for the commission next year. So somebody will have to write a resolution asking for $2,500 in next year's budget, or the commission will have no money. And we were working on printing the brochures, but we never got a full committee, so we're waiting for the full committee, so we had it. And now you're missing 2 people, and it'll make it really difficult for your quorums, because you have to have 4 people for a quorum, even though 2 people aren't even filling positions right now. So it's really essential that
There are 5 who have responded positively to in person.
yep, that'll be great, because you have to
So
have 4
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay in August.
are you going to be in on that by Zoom?
I'm
at all?
not going to be at that.
Okay,
No,
good.
that date had a conflict for me, so.
Okay, good
But
enough.
I will, the commission will get, the committee will get an update when it's good to go to share any news. So again, we're at a public meeting, you know, we're fully aware that we're just asking for just a teeny bit of discretion. Don't buy my flowers yet.
Okay.
So that's it for me.
Next, we go to Extension Administrative Department reports, Chris.
All right, a couple things that I want to, excuse me, share with you. Working on budget, so both this current fiscal year, everything's looking good. There will be some adjustments as revenues. One of the things, the Sources of Strength program that Mandy does, that's Mandy's program that's going to go with her because she is a trained facilitator to do that, and that is not something we're going to be able to replicate at this point in time. And that's going with her, and Mandy still has commitments and intention to honor those as she goes. So that's not it's a financial piece, but it's not a loss to the area schools who utilize those programs. So one of those things. Looking ahead to 2023, I have a lot of different scratches and notes about different scenarios based on how things were going to go. I was a reference for Mandy, so I was in the loop of what the possibility might be. So I had some pencil notes here, and then they became pen, and then they were highlighted and things like that as far as what some options might be. Still working on the final. That's not so what we are. As Mandy said, there's going to be some change, but not a change in commitment to the educational programming. So there may be some changes. And that's reflected in some of the monies that come in as outside grants and some adjustments within the actual program expenses as a result of those grants. So that's looking ahead. And I'll once we are able to submit the budget and the executive is able to release the executive budget, then I'll be able to bring it for conversation and be able to look at some of those pieces. Couple things about some staffing or just a reminder in regard to the spaces that we work with, meeting rooms. I think I mentioned it last time, but I don't want to assume my memory isn't great. That we did put a carpeting request to facilities for the 2023 budget to get some spots, at least to look at some patches, repair some worn spots. There are a couple of bubbles that could potentially be tripping hazards we're trying to work to eliminate. So, and then the tech upgrades, we recognize that A and B could use some tech upgrades to increase their capabilities. That is not, so through overall of that, that has been taken on between IS and the executive office and looking at county-wide solutions as far as what upgrades were needed to have public meetings to be compliant in the spaces. So it's not specifically our extension budget that we have to figure out how to do that. So that'll be at that level. It might actually happen yet this fiscal year or looking at, so it's again, I'm aware that there's general pieces and we have some infrastructure set up, but I think many of you know when it comes to public meetings and Zooms, the limiting factor is really the audio, is the microphones, to be able to have good microphones so that people on the other end can hear what's going on, and still have some good microphones that will also cancel out all of the mumbling or the other room noise. The camera can be a pretty low, but it's really the audio, and that's where we're moving into that. Our meeting room users will benefit from any upgrades too, because they'll be able to utilize that. But then, so working through that. Some local staffing things. Dana, myself, and Karen, don't let me forget, I have a folder for you before the end of the day. Monday we're interviewing for our horticulture educator position. So we'll go through the process and hopefully we'll have a candidate. I'm just gonna put it out there. There is a possibility that the search, we might have to fail the search and restart over and look at opportunities. It's not the deepest pool, but there are some candidates with some potential, but that's why we're bringing them in to try and see what that might be. We'll with some of the HER news, we'll work with Mandy's role. I'm still working on some scenarios. We haven't known for a long time, so there might be some ideas, but now put pen and paper on and figure that out. The other piece that does affect or has some potential impact, it's something that's important to me is the real colors, offering real colors to the all of the Winnebago staff and our partners, which includes county board supervisors. So after August 15th, I'm gonna be the lone facilitator. And so I have to work on figuring out what are some ways to increase that capacity, and then talk to the executive's office about how to do that, because you know, it's one of those things where I was trying to support the project and get going. I overscheduled myself to a point that it's like, for the, you know, first time I actually canceled some vacation hours and worked on some Saturdays and Sundays to catch up, because I was, real colors is something I love doing it. It is very, very important. But it just is something that does take time to do well. So trying to find that capacity, whether that means the possibility of trying to get some additional county folks to be certified, to be trained as facilitators to help spread that out and increase the capacity. It's a very valuable program. I encourage all of you, when you see the emails, to find one that works for you as they come out. So we're hoping to now look at maybe late August, September, October, some fall dates coming up. So just letting you know, it's still important, but we have to look at where our capacity and our ability to be able to do that is. The other thing that I wanted to share, some state updates. Some of you may know Matt Hansen. Matt Hansen is the assistant dean. So he is essentially my supervisor. Him and Catherine Nicelender oversee the geographic operations, the areas, and are help work in between. Matt was also he's been in a administrative role at that level for a number of years, when we were districts, going back and overseeing that. He's retiring. So he has, he's hit some of those check marks about years of service and all of those things. So he has an opportunity to retire from the University of Wisconsin, and then also begin career chapter number 2 or 3 or whatever he's on, but then move into whatever the next thing that he's going to do. So they are currently they are actively recruiting, interviews coming up soon, and so there will be somebody. It may not have hopefully it won't have a significant impact, but I do know Karen and Steve for sure. You've been on the committee long enough that might actually be a name that you might remember. He may have been here a couple times when we were doing some of the transitional pieces to the area model, or some of the other things. So hopefully not a huge change, but it is somebody that is, it's a significant role, somebody a little closer than maybe a chancellor or a university president, because both of those positions are changing and new, but somebody that you guys might actually know, might have met. Matt was very regularly at the Wisconsin Counties Association meetings, and would have been someone that you might have been bumped into if you saw, or if you stopped by a booth or participated in a workshop. So he'll be missed, but he's also going on to do some cool, fun things. He is one of those ones of note. If anyone hasn't seen him lately, he has, I believe part of his next chapter is he's auditioning for a reboot of Grizzly Adams, because during COVID.
I'm thinking he's going Amish.
Yeah, during the pandemic and some of the changes, you've seen some pandemic beards, and then as we've gone back, he chose to maintain it. So that there may or may not be a pool of whether he'll get the role for Grizzly Adams 2.0, but so anyway, it's one of those for those that may know him, and now you have a picture of a big old beard. So those are some updates. I would love to answer any questions that you have. My time is, I've been spending a lot of time on budgets. Outagamies is due on next Thursday, and Winnebago's is due next Friday. So I'm crunching numbers. So
Better let you go.
yeah, Wapaka's is due in a couple weeks. So
Could you enlighten us all about the library issue? The library director, City of Menasha, got an email from Ethan saying that they were going to cut their budget by 17%, and the executive was going to take over administering, is that the right word of saying it?
So I mean, that's way out of my realm as far as what those specific decisions with that is, or what that might
But you
be.
weren't informed on any of that, or?
Well, so the only thing that I can say that I was informed on is because, is in the past, when the Winnefox Library would come and present, they would do two pieces. They would do a budget request and they would do their annual report. And at the, in review of the overall process, those two pieces are split apart and the budget request is part of the budget process. And we'll go through the hearing that so Amy and I submit a proposed budget and then have a hearing with the executive, but that also includes finance and HR and all those to make sure that we've dotted i's and crossed t's and those types of things. And then the budget's released. So that's one part. And then the other part is the annual report or the annual update to the county. That is, I believe, scheduled for September or October.
September.
September. So they are planning to be here to come and share their annual report in September. That will also be after the executive releases his budget for your review and consideration. So then you would be able to ask questions based on that budget at that time. So that's what I understand.
Yeah, well, then,
As far as the mechanics of the dollars and those, that's out of my,
that isn't part of your budget?
it is not part of my budget.
No.
Yep, it never has. Well, it may, I don't know if it ever has been part of
No,
extension, but it's,
That's
no,
the thing, trying to find out who's in charge of what.
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't know what's going on because, we heard that and the letter, somebody saw the letter from Ethan saying this was gonna happen. But then if they didn't talk to you, I'm going, well, I don't know
yeah.
how.
No,
things
no,
work.
that's not under my
So
purview.
we won't even really know until something happens, because nobody said anything, really, officially.
Officially, I talked to John Tuesday night, and he said that since that letter's been out, things have changed. So whoever showed you that letter, ask them, because John should have contacted them, and things were gonna stay status quo. But he's basically, that's what he told me.
No, that's fine, and that, we can leave it there, because that's the thing, it's one thing to hear something, but it's another thing to have a letter in front of
Yeah.
you stating it.
Right.
And then come back to find out that it's not.
So one of the things, and this may be somewhat kind of related to your question, so in my role, I supervise the extension staff and I oversee the extension departmental budget. We do serve as kind of the clearinghouse or the coordinating point for the committee, which also for this, the Ag Extension, it's UW, Education, Extension, and Agriculture Committee. So there may be, so like then there, like the library's request comes in to the committee. Any of the UW, the UWO, Fox Cities, or, those types of pieces will come into the committee, but that, and we're aware to put them or asked or requested to put them on the agenda as kind of our role to help coordinate and help provide, just some basic support to the committee. But those are their, items. They're talking, as far as, what they do. They don't have to ask for my approval or permission. We just help provide some administrative services for those groups. Actually, we provide administrative support for the committee, for the five of you, and then help make sure the agendas are properly posted and to help comply with all of those pieces. I don't know if that helps clear some things out. So there are some other things, and I'll be honest, Tom. So when I was in Dunn County, whatever the committee, and it had a whole different name, that it actually included libraries and tourism and all of those. It's interesting to listen to, but our extension department didn't have any, it wasn't any control, yeah, it was the committee was, and we just helped with the agendas and the minutes. And I can't remember, Wood County had some other things that were added to. So
It's just as you learn at Key, you said, you know, you're only here for 2 months. I've been here for 4 years. I have no idea. I thought $1 was $1, but I'm wrong. There's ARPA dollars, there's grant dollars, there's all sorts of different colored dollars. You
And
gotta
you're
ask.
between a rock and a hard place as to making a decision,
Can I have $1?
I'll take any version.
as long as you lend that dollar, pay
Yeah.
it
So
forward.
Yeah.
What would you think, Chris, about adding a part-time diversity coordinator to our budget?
I think I think it's possible. I'd want to talk a little bit more about the, what the role and the scope of the position, just from the standpoint of, so where my brain, so I apologize if my pause, my brain and my role goes to budget management, supervision, those pieces. It's not about the impact or the importance. It would be how could we as extension manage, supervise, provide the support so that would be it would be a successful position or a successful role, as opposed to, oh, well, we give it a try, but it didn't, didn't work, and our name is on it, and, things like that.
I just feel like the diversity commission, without having some type of coordinator, they meet once a month, and it takes way more than
Mhm.
2 hours a month to actually make anything really
Yeah.
happen. And Mandy's gonna be
Yeah.
gone, and she was filling in for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And the new person's gonna have a hard time even doing her job, let alone picking up all the extras that really weren't part of your job. You did them because you had a true desire to make a difference in the community. And I just don't feel that commission is going to be very successful now that Mandy's leaving, and we don't have somebody there to help them. Beth Roberts helps, but, she too is got
Yeah.
a full-time, and I think we're presenting to John on the 10th at 10 o'clock. He sent me an invitation, that's when,
Yeah, that's the,
and I guess if I can get a copy of the budget, and I would like to add that halftime position, if you could figure out how we would do it and what we'd put it under. And if he doesn't want to accept it there into our budget, I'll put a resolution in when we do the budget to add it.
And thinking about that, I wonder, I understand, and lots of communities need them. The separation and relationship with extension and the county, right? The way we're positioned is extension work is a lot of diversity affairs commission. You've seen what has happened to me as an extension employee. Would putting an extension employee here, how much influence would they have? You really want someone in the county, somewhere as a county employee with county efficacy, because I just technically provide support, and I don't have any say. I can, and you've seen that, right? Like, please don't record. There's not best practice. Extension is not going to be okay with like this method of recording, but I'm not part of that. So I love the idea, and I think I agree with your capacity. There will need to be a very candid capacity conversation around diversity affairs, because our office is doing a ton of the heavy lifting. Jody is doing probably equal to more than me. So I just want to make sure, like, if you advocate for that, make sure they're in the right department so that they can get county support.
One of the things that I've found, Steve, is that how much duplication is this commission doing? I believe that it's important. I'm not going to be a party to let's dissolve this. That's not going to be something. And in fact, I have asked Mary Ann about whether that's something, because I know it's on the table to dissolve the whole thing. There needs to be a job description that goes along with that if it happens.
Correct, I agree. And what I'd like to see, like, we replace 20% of our workforce, about 22% of our workforce leaves every year. So, like you see, if there's 5 employees here, one of them won't be here next year. Well, what the commission needs to do is develop a handbook, and that diversity coordinator would take the new employees and go over that with them. This is the county's philosophy, how we want people to be treated in our county. You know, you just seen Merrill School just have a big diversity issue where they were treating colored people and now they have a big,
hoo-ha about it. That might come under that new person's job description, to create one of their people to be the advocate for the diversity committee and coordinate all of that, because isn't that what that person's job is supposed to be? Is the coordination between the various entities that are a part of the county?
I think he took over 4, like finance and, you know, there's 4 entities that he's going to basically put his time on. But
And the
I mean, maybe
coordination
it's better through the
thereof.
health department, but I just think if we don't have
HR, try
somebody
to
to
get
help
them.
that diversity affairs commission and have somebody working for that commission on at least a part-time basis, I don't know how we make a difference, because you're not gonna meeting basically 2.5 hours a month. We basically, we haven't even started working on a handbook yet. And
Well, there has been a little bit of start on it, but there's been some issues with people who want or don't want their name on it.
and yeah, I just,
Yeah, and I think,
So a huge misunderstanding.
well, I've heard it's been being talked about being killed before it was built. And Beth and I have had, candid conversations about the work and the commission, and we believe the work can continue with dedicated opportunities, so even if the commission would die, the work is gonna continue in this community. So we've sort of developed that because we've been threatened, like rumor wise, right? Like we're gonna kill it, that's what's happening. Beth started this work way before I was brought on board. And I was brought on board to like get this commission technically advised into 7 people with a fully functional process and strategic plan. And it just hasn't worked. And a lot of it just doesn't work because we're disconnected
There's
from
so,
support. We
and
don't know.
misunderstanding.
There's a lot of miscommunication that goes out and around and about hidden agendas and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, my name is mud in this field a lot. And so but it's never been about like, it's just about the work. It's about the work, and this work is critical and it's needed. And if you read your Wisconsin Counties magazine, counties are taking this on. And if you want to keep employees, and I think you're very right, but I would, as someone who's been in the swirl of this, get them as close to human resources as possible so that they can build, because this commission wants county-wide employee training. This commission probably will never get that passed. But if you could get someone as close to human resources as possible, you would solve your problem about workforce. Yeah, so Extension will always support diversity work, always. Get them in a place where they have influence.
so you think it'd be better than if you get into the personnel? I mean, I'm a personnel finance committee.
I know.
I can talk to the supervisor.
Get them as close
Right.
close as you can.
right, and I was jotting some notes, Steve, and listening, and
We love them.
I wholeheartedly agree with Mandy's assessment, that as close to HR or as close to the exec
Exactly,
office
as
as you
possible.
can. And I'll be honest, there is a position, very different focus, that Outagamie County hired, and it was part of their human resources department. A bigger, broader focus than that, but that's where they put it because it has a lot to do with training and awareness and pieces that are then part of onboarding and ongoing training and
Perhaps you can give me that job description and I can give it to Supervisor Cox and.
yeah, let me,
And the
yeah,
beautiful
I should
part
be able
while
to
he's
find it.
writing that down is the relationship then with Extension, and if that would be a successful hire, is we have a lot of that content, right? So we would go back to being the educational partners
yeah,
with someone who has some influence, and
Sure.
that would be a perfect relationship, because then we would have shared understanding. I feel often that I'm sort of swimming upstream And I'm not sure, right? Like,
Sure,
I'm
sure.
sure if
No,
it's-
it makes sense.
I don't know, but you know, that would be a perfect, like, sort of, you know, relationship and like how we do things in extension is, we wanna dig in and support what the county needs, but we gotta have someone from the county that shares that
That's
an
our goal.
assessment, right,
Sure.
of need, yeah.
Yeah, I think if that commission doesn't get some
Direction.
direction, it's never going to, it's just gonna continue to.
I think it's
It took so
more than
long to
direction.
accomplish what we
I do
accomplished.
too.
It's support. We need support because we had direction. Latiria was an excellent
She
chair.
was.
She did not have support. So
No.
we need direction and support. So please, like, we need support or kill it. Honestly, I'm just gonna say,
Right.
just put it out of its misery or support it. I think that that's a philosophical county board decision.
You know, and she basically couldn't devote 20 or 30 hours to doing that
No.
on a weekly basis. And that's why you need at least a part-time person, 20
Yeah.
hours, that can devote 20 hours a week to it. You know, she was strictly volunteer, she didn't get paid. So it's like, how many hours can she devote? She had a full-time job.
Mhm.
But when the committee has a goal, then the diversity coordinator would take that goal and move forward with it.
It's-
So
it
that
would
we
be
can
a
accomplish
great,
something by the next month, you know, you'd have 80 or,
yeah, it'd be a great opportunity for the staff training that is really the dream. And this commission, I don't think will ever get that off the ground. They want to, they're ready, we have all the evidence that supports the need for it, but I don't know that we have the power or authority.
well, we'll try at budget time, you only need 51% of the county board. And
Is it gonna be 51%? Are they gonna say that we've got to have a 2/3 vote or a 3/4 vote? That's one of the questions
At
that's come up
budget,
in my head.
anything that comes up at budget is 51%. So you can add any position you want, you can add money to the budget, it's 51%. After the budget's done, John can veto it, the county exec,
You're out of luck, huh?
but after that, it's gonna go to 2/3 or 3/4.
Okay,
So the easiest
Thank you.
time to ever get anything is at budget time,
That's-
because it only takes 51% majority.
okay.
You know,
Thank you.
And hopefully that they would just put that in the personnel budget and we wouldn't have to reapprove it with their budget. But if they say they don't want to add a halftime diversity coordinator, then the only other way of trying to do it is through the budget.
Well, and I do think that we need to make sure that there are stipends for anyone who comes along and speaks for us, or speaks to us.
Mhm.
Yep, and that's why we had the $2,500, but they've been lucky enough, like Mandy would trade her time for their time.
Mhm.
So, but we've lost that avenue now, because she's not gonna come back and do it for us. for free.
As much as
Shame
I
on
loved it,
you.
as much as it was my favorite thing. Yeah, no, it really, you know, it's just those relationships, right? And I know Tom talked last time, like, we don't have a lot of money, let's be fiscally responsible, so,
Yep.
but then there's times where you have to spend money. So, I mean, absolutely, I think
But if you could get your brochure ready to print by the end of the year, because you do have $2,500, and there's no guarantee next year, we got a whole new county board that they're gonna give you $2,500. So if you
From
wanna-
our-
A whole
and
new
it's-
county board, a bunch of us who are,
yeah,
dare I say, ignorant. On board to learn.
But yeah, I mean, you have the money now to get the brochures printed, and, you know.
they're ready, ish, but there was, you know, we just have some, you know, when you change, you want to respect the new chairs and,
What new chair?
well, there's gonna be one, hopefully next Thursday.
Oh,
And if I could get a copy of the budget, so I don't look like I don't know nothing that's going on the 10th.
I will ask for permission. It's not mine to distribute, so it'll be Executive Damos to
Okay.
distribute. So I will put that in my notes.
But otherwise, I won't be able to support you much if I don't know.
I understand, and I'm just
Yep.
following my marching orders, so.
You must have a lot of bosses.
Yep.
I can be a boss of you. I will be a boss of you.
There's only
You
one
are,
that counts. and that's your
99
wife.
assembly members, 33 senators, a governor, the UW system, Board of Regents, president.
Thank goodness they all get along.
Yeah, they do.
Consistent
Yep,
messaging.
consistent
Always,
messaging.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun.
Any other questions for Chris? Hearing none, we'll go on to Announcing extension events at the county board meeting for discussion.
Steve at the last meeting did announce about the county fair. And we got that in there. I'm just looking at it as saying this is an opportunity to highlight something. What do we want to highlight?
Mandy leaving.
You know, and as we say that, to recognize her leaving, but also with your having stated Lateria and the lack of recognition that she's received for the job that she did, maybe
Yeah, it's a
being able to say,
perfect time to recognize you for all the work you've done,
Thank you.
for all your years of service,
Thank you.
and that you will be sorely missed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would like Lateria's message to be hers, right? So I shared that with you as our committee, but I think for Lateria, a thank you for her service and commitment, and that you've recognized that pay is important, and if we're gonna have elected chairs who are non-elected officials, we have to treat them with respect and dignity. So I absolutely appreciate that she has no hard feelings. She loves this office, and I've developed a really wonderful friendship and relationship with her, and her voice will be one to listen to in this community for sure. So I think that's great. Just so you're aware, Tom, and the committee, the elected officials do get my weekly newsletter. So they are on our, it's a digital email.
What's this one? This one I get in the mail, right?
Yeah.
That's a county
that's the-
fair.
that's the
book.
4-H
I don't have-
newsletter.
yeah.
That's just the 4-H.
That's just.
But
for
you
it.
do get a yellow one from us, the HCE. When do we send that to?
Oh, yeah, all five.
All
board
the
members get a
newsletters.
copy.
Yeah, so, that's
That's
Amy
it.
does that.
this is fabulous.
Yay.
We also
Well,
send one
I
out for
guess
grandparents as well.
I'm
yeah,
probably not aware
I don't know.
of
We
all
make
the
sure
stuff that's sent to me that's different than, because I mean, some of it looks the same, I assume it's the same. But it had information in it that I thought was that breakfast, state fry, I missed that. Didn't read it. And it just, to me, it's advertised, it goes out, it's recorded, and people actually watch it because I get comments when I don't have my hair combed. So, you know, it's how we want to use it.
Yeah. I
And
think
again,
that's
you don't want to
fantastic.
do a lot of stuff, but what do you want to do? What do you want to highlight? And that's where I think it'd be good if the committee decides what's going to be the sponsored topic for
It's a fantastic.
the
idea.
next meeting.
Well, I'm trying to bring this up in the wrong place. When we open the committee to comments, I've got a comment.
Any further discussion on the events? Hearing none, we'll go to the scholarship task force.
Okay.
So in other words, we're not going to do anything, right?
I thought we were gonna mention Mandy retiring or.
Hiring.
So, like,
Need a resolution, need a resolution on that.
Right, you guys met on
No, it's
Tuesday,
just under the
so we were
comments.
talking August.
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the, I don't know, I want to say tricky parts is that sometimes this meeting does happen before the county board, sometimes it happens after the county board meeting. So that's as far as specific events, the newsletters and or some of the details might not even be quite yet finished yet. So that's where that's where I was, I'm like thinking ahead to August, and I'm like, yeah, there could be a bunch of things already. And I also wanted to make sure that by August, Mandy's news should be public information, hopefully. So,
There was
And
also
again,
later.
maybe it's just that this is something you should be getting, and it'll come sometime.
and that would be a great starting point.
Yeah.
To make sure, because it would also help serve as a double check if we try, I mean, Amy and the team do a great job of keeping mailing lists up to date, and that not to mean that there may not be a small error.
I wonder.
So,
With the
okay,
new board
that would
members,
be
I don't know.
actually very much appreciated of, hey, want to make sure you're aware of these resources that you get. So I would, on behalf of the whole group, I would appreciate that.
what do we want to mention something in August?
Well, just if I find out what it is and when they should be getting it, that they could look for it, that could be about it. I mean, it doesn't have to be law.
Right, yeah, like, just like with beer, I just basically
Well,
took a couple
should-
minutes.
Should we hear back from Chris as to whether it's time for it to go public?
It,
And if not in August, it
by
would be
the August
September.
board meeting, because that would actually be after her start date. So
Yeah.
we're gonna make an assumption that things are.
Or if you start with me, we'll
Yeah.
just say, never mind. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, what it is we're hung up is, we have a very small, HR team.
Yeah.
And there's just summer vacations and schedules, so they're very short staffed. That's just where we're, the amount of work is not diminished, just the ability to, get some tasks done. So that's where we're at. So. it
I
should-
mean, we could just do Mandy at the next meeting, wherever it is, and hold off until later on.
Do it in September
That
at the
can be
board
my
meeting,
billboard.
potentially.
That can be your billboard.
Hang up some signs. I always wanted to be Taylor Swift. Glitter signs. I want you to make one.
I'll make a sign, I'll hold
But you
it up.
will.
I'll
I'll watch it.
And if you don't know who Mandy looks like,
No, I don't want one of
Yes.
those, I don't want those fat heads no, no, I was never an athlete, clearly, but, yeah, so.
Off to the scholarship task force, I think Karen
Yes.
has
I
comments on
had,
that.
I had made a resolution to the county board back in December, which got tabled and sent off to judiciary. And I sort of began rattling their doors in the spring because they hadn't done anything about it. So finally, they did meet and decided to pass it back off to this extension office. And rather than have a form its own committee, make a task force out of those of us here. What I presented to the judiciary a couple of weeks ago is that currently the scholarships get $9,000 a year in taxes and tax money. I contacted the bursar at UWO just to get some historic and current information. In the year 2000, the scholarship began 22, 23, 24 years ago, not quite sure when. But I went back to the year 2000. Tuition at UWO was $3,023.70. The bursar expects the tuition, and it's not set yet, in 2022, in the fall of 2022, to be $7,795.56, which is nearly 158% increase in the 22 years that I was checking. The County Scholarship is, again, developed, established just under 25 years ago, I think. At the time it was established, it covered 66% of tuition at UWO. I only picked UWO because that was nearby. Was gonna try and check every school.
Yep.
This year, it would cover 25.65%. So it's dropped from being able to support 66% of tuition down to 25 plus. There were several major donations made early on. I didn't ask my caller to dig too deeply. I just wanted to get some basic information. Currently sitting in a protected little pocket in the county budget that's earmarked for us, there's currently $43,311 being held for the scholarships, and we've never increased it in 25 years, 22 years. I'll go 22. I don't know what it is. It's time to do something about this. Paul Eisen at the judiciary, who had served on a committee around the year 2006, said at that point, his recollection was that it was really geared to that sort of B and C student rather than the A student who's going to be getting lots of great scholarships and helping someone go on. I'm not sure how that corresponds with the fact that it covered 66% of a university tuition, but that was his recollection. He's also wondering whether he may have suggested perhaps rather than increase the $1,000 a year that we're currently giving, and we're giving out 9 scholarships, why not go to double that and go to 18 scholarships? When I made the presentation in December, my thought was we would increase the amount of money going to each one, and we would also add one additional scholarship that would be earmarked for homeschool, because right now we take care of public and private schools and parochial schools, but we haven't really done anything about reaching out to homeschool seniors, and I thought we would have one for that.
Who knows where the home schools are?
Well, someone knows
They're
those, because
invisible.
someone knows because they have to register.
I don't go for that.
Okay, we needed, so I'm here just to present that I'm looking to have a task force that we would discuss this. And my own thought is, I'd like to see these scholarships increase. I don't know that we need to go to $18,000 scholarships, looking for B and C students. He says A students aren't gonna apply for $1,000. But obviously they have, because it's the
They
students.
do.
Yeah. The
They
students who've been
do.
I
getting-
read scholarships
Yeah.
and it is,
The students that we've
They
been
do.
getting, these are kids who are gonna go off to good schools. So I think they are probably A students. One of the people who got a scholarship, just because I lived there for 17 years, is going to Michigan Technological University. And so that's a school you need some smarts for. So looking to see if there's anybody interested in the task force, talking about it with me. We can do it over a phone, we can meet someplace over a coffee, whatever, just to get some ideas of where people are standing. And I have heard from one member of the judiciary who said he himself was interested in the scholarship. He was, so that would be something we could reach out to and say, okay, would you like to join the task force? So what are your feelings?
So so Karen did give me a call to place this on the agenda, and here's the understanding is that judicial sent it basically, Ag and Extension, UW Ag Extension is the home, and Karen's proposing or asking to have a task force work group that will then report a proposal or bring a proposal back to this committee for the final review, and if you pass it, then it will go back through the necessary change before it comes up to the county board, and through all of those process pieces.
And then, we do have time because they expect these applications, I think, to be due in either March 1st or March 31st. I can't remember, someplace in March. So there's time before this graduating class that hasn't even started yet, because we're still in July.
46 more days till they start.
But who's counting?
Grandparents.
grandparents providing care. Yeah.
There's
Karen, I would help you on that, and having been a part of King's Daughters, we actually did scholarships and we ended up doing them through the foundation up at the Fox Cities Foundation. And the scholarships are due, I believe, around the 31st of March. We then had a meeting and went about deciding who was going to get what. And those scholarships ran, I think, between $1,000 and $2,000. I would say that there are young people who are happy with any money that they get.
Yeah.
But if it pleases you, I'd be happy to work with you on that. I've certainly done it in the past.
Okay.
And Karen, we have a staff meeting that started 7 minutes ago. So I can ask if there's any individuals who would be willing, because I know Sarah Thompson has been working with that in the past, but there might be others that
Okay.
would be able to help in
That'd
that
be great.
initial stages to get something to come to this committee.
Okay. That's all I have to report about that, just that we want to get this off the,
And once you actually have a proposal, we can just put it back on the agenda.
right.
Discussed in action, and that way we can discuss it, and then we can basically move it forward to a resolution. And we can actually take it to the county board ourselves, because we're kind of in charge of the scholarship
right.
program. We don't have to go back to jurisdiction of public safety.
I don't
They're
think
not
so.
really a part of it.
No.
So if you would come up with a proposal that you would want to take to the county board, then we could basically approve that here and drop the resolution and try to pass it at that level.
Okay.
And Karen, my only suggestion would be to see if you could clarify with Mike Collard if it would be possible to take that protected money, if it would be amenable, and actually work with one of the foundations so that money could actually earn a little bit of interest, so it kind of create
Rather
an
than keeping it in
endowment.
the general fund.
Right, so,
Being held in the general fund.
or, and allow that to grow and mature, so it does have some better chance of sustainability, because right now, As you spend it, it's gonna be, as it goes, it's gone, it won't be replenished, but there might be some other ways to be able to look at. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, so but you also,
And put it into, what did you call it
well,
again?
like an endowment or,
Karen called it community foundation.
yeah.
Yeah,
community
the Oshkosh
foundation.
Community Foundation
Right.
is the cheaper of the two. When I say cheaper, their percentage take is less than it is up at the Fox Cities
Yeah.
Community Foundation.
And I
I'll
fully
ask him.
recognize that there may be some very specific rules in place related to how, governmental body and financing, so it may not be an
Yeah, he'll
option,
know,
but
yeah.
at least I would suggest asking that question.
Right, okay,
You'll get more applicants.
okay, so that's all I had to present.
Then we'll move on to committee, comments.
I said I had something to say, and
Yeah.
you know, the good thing is I remembered. It is that the Diversity Commission is meeting at 5:30 PM on August the 4th. There will be an agenda set up. It will be on the county calendar as of either tomorrow or Monday, when the agenda gets to Sue. That agenda will be mailed out to those people who are members of that commission. Because this is such a controversial commission, I would appreciate support. So anybody who can show up, in case you haven't discovered, I'm pretty good at speaking up. But if anybody else would like to be there to make a stand,
By there, you
I'd
mean
certainly
here.
appreciate it. Right here in this room,
August.
4th.
They can
At
comment,
5:30.
they can comment during open.
Absolutely. What is on the agenda right now is what we have at the county board, which is 2 minutes. That's what it said. I know that we're trying to hold it to an hour and a half. That is how long we've got the room reserved for.
Yeah, I believe there's a conflict with one of the commissioners. Okay, so it needs to go.
And then if you're still looking, I have a comment as well. Just to say, I attended a performance of Wait Until Dark at the Attic Theater, and there was a little girl who made her first speaking role. She was 8, I think they said she was. Her first speaking role in a production, and she was big in 4-H and started in Clover Buds and began a 4-H, founded started some 4-H group at her school. And I thought, I meant to bring the program that came with the play, but I will get it to you, Chris, because I wanted you to know about her. She's not in our county, but I was really impressed with this little kid and proud of her being a 4-H girl. And that's my only comment.
Nothing.
Then we got the committee meeting scheduled. I think we already got our meetings all set.
Yeah, that's already on my calendar.
So our next meeting will be August 18th. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I.
Yeah.
Chris, thanks for your time.
Welcome, everyone.
You too, Christie. Thank you. You too for taking the notes.
Discuss.
Okay. If I get that horticultural thing from you, Chris.
Yes, yes.